Hello, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Wednesday, the 1st of November. I hope Halloween went well for you and you had a lot of fun giving out candy to the kids. I know I did. I froze my butt off and gave out lots of candy, ate a little bit of it. But a confession is good for the Feast of All Saints, which is today. So welcome to Feast of All Saints, and I'd like to talk to you today about something I came across in a book by Richard Rohr. The book is The Universal Christ. And in it, on page 32, he says, you have to trust the messenger before you can trust the message. And I've got a bunch of people on who are subscribers to this channel who really hold my feet to the fire about having integrity and making sure that the message that I'm sharing is trustworthy, but also, wanting to make sure that the messenger herself is trustworthy. And I'm glad of that. I've lost my earphone here. I'm glad of that, because if what I'm saying isn't, if who I am is not trustworthy, then it doesn't matter if I have the best news for anybody in life. Why would they listen to me if I'm not trustworthy in the rest of my life? And and thinking a lot about that lately, about everything that's going on in the world around us, the news, seeing how the church is responding to the news, and really thinking, what is the point? What is the point if we can't trust the people who make the decisions, the people who speak on behalf of the other people? In Alberta, we currently have a premier a premier is sort of like the governor of a state. They're the head honcho for the province itself. They don't have to um, kowtow to the prime minister. They govern those things that are specifically for the province itself. And then there's some back and forth relationships, but they're the sort of highest ranking person in the provincial government. And our premier has been doing some odd things of late. One of them is really trying to convince Albertans that our pension plan, in Canada we have the Canadian pension plan, which has the benefit of taking all that money that's taken from our paychecks and popping it into a fund that's massive, and then hence derives quite a bit of interest, and then is able to give it to people after they've retired. And then they have a set income. They know that they have income coming from the Canada pension plan, which is probably the most stable financial thing we have in our country. But our premier has got a bee in her bonnet that we really do need to have the Alberta pension plan, that people in Alberta deserve to take their money out of the Canadian pension plan and have it for ourselves. And I think, I may be wrong, but I believe she thinks that about 60 billion of it, a significantly higher, more, there's 10 provinces and three territories in Canada, so basically 13 states in Canada, and she has simply suggested that we take 1/13th of that amount of money and take it in house. She's suggesting that we take a significant portion of the total, because that's what Albertans have truly been taxed, and had to put in that. I don't personally, as somebody lived and worked in three different provinces, I don't see my contribution to my Canada pension plan as a tax because I'm going to get it back. It's going to help me live when I'm no longer able to work, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate the fact that it's stable and solid, and it's doing well. But she wants the Albertans to get that money back. Now, forget the ins and outs of what happens if you lived in Alberta and you move out, or that you didn't live in Alberta your whole life but you move here to retire, and how would that work? But she's got these plans to have people go out and speak who are supporting this idea without really giving us a sense that this is, like, logistically feasible, let alone ethically moral and all that stuff. But she's also now, the government of Alberta, not she, the government of Alberta is now also throwing out these commercials that show people sitting in their living rooms in the cold of winter with no electricity, because the federal government is going to make decisions about how things are legalized and how things are dealt with, that would make Canadians might lose their power in the middle of the cold winter. And wouldn't that be awful? I don't think so. I really don't think it's going to happen. The question becomes, again, you have to trust the messenger before you can trust the message. In this particular case, our premier um, doesn't seem to have as much. integrity, I would suggest. During her campaign, I believe she did say that she was taking the whole idea of the federal taxes coming in-house to Alberta off the table, and yet now that she's elected with a majority government, it's back on the table. To me, you lose integrity when you don't speak the truth when you campaign. Or if you did speak the truth and you change your mind so significantly after the campaign, there's issues there. Politics is only one place where that's a really obvious problem, that you have to trust the messenger before you begin to trust the message. I think the church is there as well. There have been, and I mean, when I say church, I'm not talking Anglican church. I'm talking about big C Christian church, like everywhere. Too many times we see places and we hear of things that where the person who's at the front says something, and then the way they live their life, it doesn't match up to that. So if you get a preacher who's up there preaching to thousands of people about, that we have to live in humility and we need to give to God what is God's and render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and you see him or her standing there saying that this is really all of our ministry is about helping the poor and helping people to know that they have a place to turn, and we can learn about Jesus Christ, and we can have salvation, and we can help one another. And then in the middle of a crisis, like a hurricane or something, they refuse to allow that massive place where thousands gather to be used for human need, for people to gather as a place of sanctuary and safety, because they need it for church. To me, the messenger loses integrity there. They lose their trust. And too many times in small places, in local tiny little towns and small churches, when the priest or the leadership, not just a priest, but the leadership of a church, doesn't live up to the gospel that they preach. What they say in the pulpit doesn't match the way they live their life. What do people do? What do they see? I don't know about you, but in where I live, I go downtown, I go to pay my bill, my utility bill at the town hall, at the town office, and I walk in and they know who I am. They know my name. I go to pick up my drugs at the drugstore, and I maybe never met this person before, formally, but they know who I am. They know which drugs I'm here to pick up. People know who I am because I am the pastor in town. I am the Anglican priest. People know me even if I'm not sure where they know me from, which means I have to be careful. I have to realize that the life that I live in public and the life that I talk about in the pulpit, they have to line up. It does not mean I have to be perfect, and God knows I am not perfect. I make so many mistakes, but I have to try to live with integrity. Now, if I am doing that, if I am trying hard as a pastor, as a leader in a church, to live a faithful life and try to live the things that I preach from the pulpit, then not only will my life be in keeping so that people who are surrounding me and watching me will know, well, yeah, we can trust her message because we trust her as the messenger. What she's saying and what she's doing, they line up. But it also means that if I live that way to the best of my ability and with God's help, those very people, when they see me foul up, because I will, because I'm human and I make mistakes, they will be forgiving of me. They will know that if if they messed up the way I messed up, I would forgive them. And that allows us to be able to have a real relationship, not where they put the pastor up on some pedestal and then he or she can never do anything wrong. And if they do, look how far they have to fall. But we're both standing here on the sidewalk and we're both making mistakes and living our lives. And if sometimes I put my foot down and it comes off the sidewalk and I step into the gutter or onto the street, I trip and I stumble. Not only do they forgive me and say, oh, look, she fell, but they help to pick me back up the same way I would help them. We need to make sure as leaders, whether it's in the church or in politics or as teachers or as scout leaders or baseball team coaches, whatever we're doing in life, we need to find a way to live in that other people see us and recognize us and acknowledge that we're doing the best we can. We're not holier than thou, and we shouldn't be. But what we're trying to do is show people that what you see is what you get. The message that I share with you is a message I'm trying to live out myself. So that when I want people to trust the message, I recognize that first they have to trust the messenger. It's not always easy, but it's always necessary. And it goes for all of us. It doesn't matter if we have a position of leadership from which to lead. Even if you just live on your own and the only person you talk to is whoever delivers your groceries to the door, or when you say hello to when you take your dog for a walk. Always trying to live as a person, trying to live a life of integrity that matches up the things that you hold up to be true and important, and that you yourself would be held accountable to. That allows other people to see you and listen to what you have to say with your words, with your actions, with the life that you live. And they'll begin to trust you, and you can build that relationship of trust because they know that the message they're receiving from you is trustworthy because you, as the messenger, are trustworthy as well. We don't need to be wild and crazy. We have to live with integrity and speak truth. And when we do that, whether it's in politics or in the church or just in life in general, we might find that we're all in a better space. That's my hope for what I do in the church. I hope that I help people to see that I can be trusted, that I am a trustworthy messenger, so that people might sit down and listen to the message I have to share. Because I do believe in the message I'm sharing, because the messenger who gave it to me is worth trusting as well. Have a great day. God bless, and I will see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachel.